Hey guys, today's July 11th. I had a very interesting dream in the middle of the night that I wanted to have documented on my channel. It was very detailed and very vivid and very long, so I didn't want to forget this one. I don't know the meaning of it, I just wanted to share the dream, and I had to escape out here to the guest house again to try and do this video because if not, I'm never going to get through it. So I decided to do a very poor illustration for you guys, just kind of showing kind of what I was seeing in the dream. And I will explain what you're looking at a little bit more when I get to that part. So excuse my voice in this video. We had a crazy storm yesterday. It was almost like tornadic winds or something, and it just kind of blew up all the allergens everywhere, and I keep my throat is just a mess, so please excuse me, and excuse me if I have to kind of stop and take a drink. So like I said, this dream is long. It's 2.5 pages. And so I'm going to be reading from my journal. It says, the dream started out, I was in our basement putting together what seemed to be a cute little book of pictures or memorabilia from my wedding day. So I don't know why I was doing that. I don't know if it was supposed to be around the time of our anniversary or something, which is in November. The dream didn't say that. I don't know why I was doing this stuff with our wedding memorabilia. It was just kind of like a little display or like scrapbook or something I was doing or working on. Like I said, just with little trinkets and memorabilia from our wedding day. So as I was in the basement doing that, my neighbor came down wanting my husband to help her with something, which in real life, that's something that she often does. She's a single mom, and she often comes asking if my husband can help her, work on her porch or fix her lawnmower or something. So she came down to ask if my husband could go help her with something. The scene seemed to switch to where we were all suddenly now in the living room. And my other neighbor, Teresa, was there as well. So I'm not sure what the significance is with both of my neighbors being there, but they were. So we were all now in the living room, and not to be TMI, but I wrote here, it says, my husband and I, we wanted to be alone and be intimate, but I don't think it's meaning the way it sounds. I think, at least for me, a lot of times when I dream about my husband, he is symbolic of Jesus. So I think this part of the dream just symbolizes him wanting to be alone with us and away from distractions, which is what we were trying to do. We were trying to get the distractions and the people out of the house because we wanted to have our alone time. So I think it just symbolizes just intimacy and closeness with God. So I don't think it means, like I said, how it sounds. So we wanted to be alone and intimate, so we kept trying to get them to leave. Suddenly, to my surprise, I saw a family of foxes in the living room. 2 parents and some babies. They had been born in the hallway closet, and they were coming out of the closet. Okay, so I know when you say something's coming out of the closet, it kind of just means something's being exposed or being put out in the open or being made known. And I have dreamt about foxes, I believe, one other time before, and some of you guys might remember. It was just back before the coronavirus stuff happened. I had that dream where I kept saying in the dream, fox hunt, and I saw actual foxes, and they had this contraption. It was like a tabletop contraption that I said in the dream, or I said in the video, that it reminded me of the game called Mousetrap, where there's all these different contraptions and traps and things like that. And they were trying to devise an evil plan of attack against us, whoever us was in the dream. And they were depicted as foxes because when you think of a fox, you hear that saying sly fox, sly as a fox. So they were very slyly, like foxes, trying to devise an evil attack all this time with this contraption and whatever this thing was. It was kind of like a marble run or like I said, it just kind of reminded me of that mousetrap game. They were trying to configure a way that they could have a plan of attack, and they had finally succeeded in coming up with that plan. And they finally had that light bulb moment of, here, this is what we're going to do. And I had heard in the spirit covert operation several times, and that's just not a word I have ever used in my life, ever. So I knew it was the Holy Spirit warning me of something. And right after I was hearing covert operation is when all the stuff with the COVID-19 started happening. So I think the Lord was kind of tipping me off with the word covert and COVID. So that's the last time that I dreamt about foxes. So anytime I dream about foxes, it's not good. So like I said, we were in the living room, and there were these, the mama fox had just had the babies in the closet, the hallway closet, and they were coming out of the closet now. So I don't know if these foxes tie into that dream that I had. If so, I don't know if it's, someone's about to be revealed about something. This covert, and another word that I had received was clandestine, which Brian, if you're listening, Brian and I both got that word clandestine, and there was another one that has the same exact meaning. I think actually covert has the same exact meaning as clandestine or clandestine. I don't even know how you pronounce that word. That's another word that I have never used in my life until the Lord gave that to me. So I don't know if these foxes in this dream are related to the fox hunt dream I had, where they devised that covert plan. But these foxes, the babies, were coming out of the closet. And let's see. I wrote, there seemed to be approximately 10-ish of them. As I walked by the mother fox, it swiped at me and scratched me. I think it lightly scratched my arm. So that's interesting. So it was kind of like an attack. But it just, it didn't really harm me that much, but she was pretty fierce, and then my neighbor and I were trying to gather them all up. Again, the scene switched to where I walked outside and I saw an incredible sight, which is the one that you're looking at here. And it's not a very good drawing because you guys know that I'm not an artist. Saw an incredible sight. It was a dark night sky. I would say more it was like I was looking directly into outer space itself. There was like no, I'll get to that part in a minute. I could see all the stars and planets, or as the Bible calls them, wandering stars. I always get so many like rude comments. There's no such things as planets. The Bible calls them wandering stars. Okay, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I could see all the stars and planets, or whatever you want to call them. My attention was immediately drawn to a red object. And I have dreamt of this object many, 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 many times. And that's this one right there. And I put planet ? Small blood moon ? The dream didn't really tell me exactly what it was, but I have dreamt of this thing more times than I can even remember. I've lost count. Okay, so then to the right of this object was the actual moon, which is right here. I don't know if you can see it very well on the camera. It didn't seem to be completely full, but I would say approximately about 75% full, maybe. The red object was smaller, or it was just further away. So as you can see, there's a size difference. This thing was smaller, or like I said, it was just farther away. I don't know. And typically that's how it relates in size to the moon in these dreams. I then was drawn to the planet Saturn. It was so clear in the sky, I couldn't believe my eyes. I took a picture with my phone because the detail was so clear and it was so close. Everything seemed to be all in the same area of the sky. And I've dreamt this before, where I'm looking up in the sky and it's like I'm looking straight into outer space. It's just like complete black. And I can see every star and every planet, and the detail is insane. And all the planets and things are like jumbled up real close together. Like they're all in one specific separate area of the sky. Just like, I don't know if it's like a alignment or what, but they're just all kind of in the same spot. And I've dreamt that before. And again, when I did dream that before, it's always Saturn. For some reason, Saturn is always really depicted in these dreams where the planets are really close. Sometimes it's Jupiter, but it's always this red one and Saturn. I don't know why. I know Saturn kind of symbolizes many different things, so I don't know. But the detail of it was crazy. I remember, like, if you look up on Google, just type like picture of Saturn or depiction of Saturn, what they tell us anyway is it just kind of looks kind of like a dull creamy yellow, but for some reason in this dream the overall color was like a blue, and I could just, it was like I was nose to nose with the planet. I could see every detail of this planet. It was crazy. There were people everywhere outside, as if some kind of festival or celebration or event was going on. Particularly, I recall younger people around maybe age 20. I believe I recall them setting off fireworks and clouding up the sky with smoke. Okay, so a lot of details in this dream reminds me of another dream that I had that I shared on my channel. Again, it was dealing with two moons, New York City there was some sort of celebration going on with fireworks, and there was out of season Halloween decorations, and I knew that I was on a mission to get a sighting of the moon, and when I did, it ended up there was two of them. I think one of them was red and one was a huge supermoon. So a lot of details in this dream that I'm reading now has a lot of details to that dream. I ran inside the house where my husband and my two neighbors were, and I exclaimed, "There's two moons. One is red. Jesus is coming." So even though when I looked up into the sky and I saw this, the dream at that point didn't say what the red object was. I didn't know what it was any more than you do right now. I just was seeing what I was seeing, but for some reason at this point in the dream I said there's two moons. And a lot of people wonder where my channel name comes from. So after I was saved and God started showing me prophetic dreams, I just started having a ton of dreams where I knew the rapture was happening around the time that I saw two moons in the sky. And a lot of other people have had that dream as well, like a ton of people. If you just go on YouTube and type rapture dream with two moons, there's like pages and pages. So that's just kind of like something special between the Lord and I. So I said there's two moons, one is red, Jesus is coming. My husband had a knowing look on his face and said, "Yeah, I knew it was there. I just saw it, but I didn't want you to freak out." And that's just kind of his personality. That's just something he would say in real life, because he knows that I dream about these things, and he knows that if I would actually end up seeing the things in the sky that I see in dreams, that I would be freaking out. So that's just kind of what he said in the dream. So my one neighbor, when she saw the signs in the sky, she said, "Wow." But when I had told her that I had been shown all of this in dreams before from God, it was like she thought I was crazy, and she made some sort of snide remark, which she does this in real life, and she's someone that goes to church. But a lot of Christians today, unfortunately, do not believe that God shows prophetic things anymore, which is really frustrating. So, you know, it's just kind of something she does that I guess she doesn't think that I pick up on it, but I do. So she made this snide remark about, it's kind of like, you know, "Oh, that's so funny, Holly. You think you're so special." Yeah, okay. That's kind of how she was. So I ran back outside to look at the sky. It was gorgeous with how clear and black the sky was and the detail of Saturn. It was almost as if a dividing veil between us and outer space had been peeled back, and all was visible to see. It was breathtaking. No one seemed scared though, and I thought it was good to note that, because normally in these dreams where I see this red planet or blood moon or wormwood or Nibiru or whatever this thing is. In dreams, when I see it, I don't freak out because I know what's going on. I know what the sign means. But the people around me in these dreams, normally they're freaking out. They're in terror. The looks on their face is horror, and they're just very frightened. But in this particular dream, I thought it was interesting because nobody was like super afraid. So like I said, the people that I remember on the streets of this like festival, or it was kind of like a fair or some sort of street thing going on, I only really recall seeing the youth. Like I said, maybe they were age 19 to 20. They were all young, but it was like they would look up and see the signs in the sky. They would be half doing that, and they would half also go back to what, just doing the worldly things on the street. So they weren't terrified, but they were just kind of like, just amused. They were like, that's interesting. That's cool. And they would kind of talk amongst themselves about it, but then just kind of be drawn back to what they were doing on the street festival or whatever it was that was going on. They just were amused by it. It seemed as if there was, it says it seemed as if there was some kind of festival or fair or outdoor event happening on the streets. I walked into one of the storefronts because they were doing some kind of gig for if it was your birthday, kind of like a step right up and receive your birthday treatment. They would have you come in and sit down, give you an ice cream cone, and while you ate it, they would sew or put together for you some kind of costume, just a fun costume. And then I wrote, maybe it was a fursuit. It was nothing like evil. It just was kind of a fun birthday thing. I don't know. So as I came inside of there, I said, it's almost my birthday in a couple weeks, which is true in real life. My birthday is on July 20th. So I was like, it's almost my birthday. I want to, sign me up for this birthday treatment. So I came in and they gave me an ice cream cone, and they went off to tailor a costume for me. And here, this next part's interesting. The male worker behind the counter grabbed a sign-in book and sat it on the counter. It was a really thick book. It was thicker than a Bible. So it was just kind of like a guest book, or like I said, a sign-in sheet, but it was really thick. Very hefty book. He said, here, before you get this treatment, you have to sign here that you agree to once saved, always saved. So I thought that was interesting because that's not really a thing that I get into. I've done one video on it before, and that's all I ever plan to do on that. So I know that once saved, always saved is what they call people who believe that, you can get saved or whatever, say a prayer when you're, in your teen years, and then you can live your life in a willful lifestyle of sin and not thinking that you have to repent or follow Jesus and that you will still go to heaven. That's my understanding of what once saved, always saved is. And that's something that I do not agree with. The Bible tells us that we have to repent and pick up our cross daily and follow Jesus and have a relationship with him. So, but at the same time, even though I don't agree with it, like I said, it's not something that I super get into. I've said what I have to say about it and moved on from it. So it's interesting that I would even dream about that. So, but yeah, he like slammed that big old book on the counter, and he's like, you have to sign here that you agree to once saved, always saved before you get the rest of this birthday treatment. So I'm not sure what that's about. And I said, what? Like, there was no way I was going to sign that agreement. Okay, so don't agree that you can say, hey, Jesus, I want to go to heaven, but then you can continue to live in willful sin for the rest of your life. That's not going to fly with Jesus. So I went back outside to look at the red object again. It was so mesmerizing, and everyone was in awe. Sorry. The young people outside kind of half stared up at it in wonder and half continued in their fireworks or street celebrations, just hanging out, maybe playing hacky sack type of games and socializing. Later in the dream, I had thoughts about there's no time for people to be offended by one another, and sad music was playing. I knew there was time for nothing but for forgiving and forgiveness. So this scene was very emotional. So my husband had said something to me in this at this part of the dream, which I was just kind of like, like I was slightly offended by it or whatever, but it wasn't a huge thing. But at the same time, like, as my mind was starting to be like, oh, I was really hurt by what he said, which he doesn't normally ever do anything like that, it was like this sad music started playing because it was a music of compassion. Like, there was a real big, like, swelling in my heart of compassion. I was like, how dare I be offended by this person that I love so much? There's time for nothing but for forgiving him. So it was like, in the dream I could have almost cried because of how it was like God was letting me feel that emotion and compassion for, like, you fool, how could you have this offensiveness rise up in your heart when literally time is this short? There was time for nothing but for forgiving. And then for some reason at the end of the dream, there was this man, an evil man, who was kind of out to get me and out to harm me, and then I woke up. So it was a pretty long dream. I feel like there was more to it, but it was just so long. As I was writing it down in my notes after I woke up, I felt like some of it faded away. But for the most part, that's what I remember. Okay, so let me... So yeah, I saw Saturn, this object, and then to the right of it was the moon. And like I said, maybe it was like 70-75% full. I don't know if that even matters. And it was just slightly bigger than the red object. But this is how everything was in the sky. And then I know there was like other planets or whatever you want to call them in the sky, but it was like they were just there. But for some reason, these are the items that really stood out as being important to me. So that's pretty much the dream. This video is getting super long and it's going to take forever to upload. So if you have any questions, let me know. But I just really, really wanted to share this one because I felt like it has a lot of important detail in it, and especially the part with the foxes really stands out to me. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys later.